Hi people, it's me, Ollie, my pronouns all she and her, and welcome back to my channel for my most anticipated 2025 new releases. Because even though half of my 2024 new releases were very disappointing, it's not my fault that I had high expectations. So anyway, in 2025, I hope that all these new releases will live up to those expectations. So without any further ado, Happy New Year. And the first book on this list is called Oathbound. For those who don't know, this book comes out the 4th of March in 2025. For those who don't know, this is the third book in the Legendborn cycle. I think that this series is planned to be a quartet, if I'm not mistaken. I used to hear that it's a trilogy, but I think that there's another book coming after this. But anyway, I read Legendborn and Oathbound. No, Oathbound is this book, sorry. I read Legendborn and Bloodmarked, book 2, this past summer, and they were both so good. Like, I think this series is totally worth all of its hype and so much more. So with that said, I'm so excited to read book 3. I'm so excited to see what will happen next with these characters, with the love triangle, with the world building and everything about it. So anyway, with that said, I'm so excited to read this book, and I hope that you will too. The next book on this list is called Say a Little Player. This book comes out the 4th of March as well, and it's a YA contemporary following a young bisexual main character who is forced to spend a week at church camp and decides, in an act of kind of like fuck you revenge, you know, she decides to commit all 7 deadly sins. However, during all that, she also falls for her best friend, who happens to be the pastor's daughter. I hope that makes sense. I'm so excited to read this book because, first of all, I read Every Time You Hear This Song by this author last year, and it was absolutely so good. But second of all, more importantly, I'm so excited to read a book that talks about religion and the Christian church from a queer perspective, as someone who grew up in the Christian space and in the Christian church and is starting to realize, like, the hypocrisies and stuff that people are talking about, especially from a queer perspective. You know what I mean? I don't know if that really makes any sense at all. But anyway, I'm so excited to read this book. I think that it's going to be so emotional and so well done. And I'm excited for the conversations surrounding queerness and religion and Christianity and like heteronormativity and stuff like that. So anyway, like I said, this book comes out the same day as Oathbound, the 4th of March, and I'm really looking forward to it. The next book on this list is called Vanya and the Wild Hunt. This story is a middle-grade portal fantasy that comes out the 11th of March, and it follows a young British Indian main character with ADHD who discovers a mysterious school. I'm so excited to read this book because, first of all, I love middle-grade fantasies in general, but I also just love middle-grade fantasies that focus on characters that feel like outsiders who, like, discover and join a new magical community. Does that make any sense? I know that's rather vague, but, like, as someone who's a neurodivergent person of color, I've always wanted to escape into my own fictional, fantastical world, so I love reading about characters who get to actually do that. If that makes any sense. Also, I trust the author's reputation because of books that I've previously read by her. So with that said, I'm so excited to read this book. I think that there needs to be more disabled characters of color existing in fantasy spaces or in fictional universes and stories in general. Like, I'm so excited to read this book. I know it's going to be absolutely so amazing and so well done. I love academic settings. I love magical schools. Like, I'm so excited. Anyway, with that said, this book comes out March 11th. The next book on this list is called Sunrise on the Leaping. For those who don't know, this book comes out March 18th, 2025, and I'm so excited to read it. This book is a Hunger Games prequel, and I am the biggest Hunger Games fan. I love the political undertones, the characters, the world building, the plot. Suzanne Callans is a genius, and I love her book so much. The fact that this book dives into propaganda and implicit submission is so fascinating to me. And, like, the fact that it's set during Haymitch's Hunger Games is so interesting and so fascinating. And I'm so excited to discover, like, new things, new perspectives, new everything. I just know that this book is going to be 5 stars, and I'm so excited to read it. I will definitely be making like its own dedicated reading vlog to it whenever I'm reading it in March, I'm pretty sure, depending what else I have going on at the moment. But anyway, I'm so excited to read this book. I know that it's going to be absolutely so incredible, so fantastic, so awesome, so fascinating. So anyway, with that said, I'm so excited to read this book, and it comes out March 18th. The next book on this list is called Holy Tales. For those who don't know, this book is a YA fantasy conclusion to the Little Thieves trilogy, which, like, I loved the first 2 books so much. For those who don't know, Little Thieves is a YA fantasy following a demisexual protagonist, and it's a retelling of the Goose Girl, which meant that I had no idea what to expect from the first book, much less the second book, much less this book, and I'm so excited to see what will happen next. I love these characters, I love the found family, I love the queer representation, I love the world building. This book comes out the 1st of April, and I'm so excited to find out what happens next, much less how it ends. That's one thing about a conclusion, like I have no idea how she's going to wrap everything up. Although, I'll be completely honest with you, I don't remember how book 2 ended, but that's what I said when I started it as well. Like, I didn't remember how book 1 ended when I started book 2. So with that, I trust that I can start book 3 without much memory of what happened before, because I think that it will just all come back to me, since I love these characters so much, and the world building and how fast-paced it is, and everything. So anyway, with that said, this book comes out the 1st of April, and I'm really looking forward to it. The next book on this list is called Ollie in Between. This story is a middle-aged contemporary, coming-of-age queer story that follows a young main character who's discovering what it means to be a woman, and it comes out April 8th. I'm so excited to read this book, because to me, like, gender is a social construct, you know what I mean? I think I'm preaching to the choir here, maybe, but, like, there's nothing inherently that makes somebody a woman or a man or anything like that. So, like, I'm very excited to see, like, what journey this character is going to go on, especially when it comes to queerness and, like, gender roles and heteronormativity and everything. Does that make any sense? Like, I don't know if that makes any sense, and I'm not trying to, like, invalidate anyone's experiences or identities or anything like that. It's just that for me, I think that gender is such a social construct, and some people conflate gender and sex together, but I don't at all, and I don't think that there's anything inherently that makes somebody like a woman or a man or non-binary, and I think it's all completely subjective. You know what I mean? Anyway, I don't know if that makes any sense. I don't know if that makes me sound like a transphobe or anything like that. But anyway, I'm so excited to read this book. I love reading queer, contemporary, coming-of-age stories in general. I think it's so important to write them, to read them, to consume them, no matter who you are, no matter how you identify. So anyway, I digress. This book comes out April 8th, and I'm so excited to read it. The next book on this list is called All the Noise at Once. This story comes out April 15th, and it's a YA contemporary following a young, Black, autistic main character who's navigating the consequences of police brutality when his older brother is arrested in defense of him. Does that make any sense? Like, I'm so excited to read this book because, first of all, as a Black autistic individual myself, I think that there should be more stories that really talk about, like, the justice system and the consequences of what it means to be Black and autistic under the eyes of, like, police officers. Does that make any sense? Like, I already know the ways in which, like, racial profiling works and everything like that, but, like, people don't really talk about what it means to be disabled under the eyes of, like, authority of police officers. I don't know if anything I'm saying makes any sense at all, but anyway, I'm so excited to read this book just for the representation and for the story and for, like, the conversations and everything. And anyway, with that said, this book comes out April 15th, and I'm so excited to read it. The next book on this list is called Silverborn. For those who don't know, this is the 4th book in the Nevermoor middle grade fantasy series. And if you've been a fan of my channel for quite some time, you would know that this book was actually on my most anticipated 2022 new releases, and that's how long I've been waiting for this book to come out. It comes out finally on the 15th of April, 2025. I read book 3 of this series in 2020. It's been 4 years since I've read anything in this series, and I'm eagerly anticipating this book so much because it's been so long. I love the series so much. I love the world building, I love the characters, I love the plot, I love the magic, I love everything about it. I haven't talked about this series in so long because I've been waiting for 3+ years for this book to fucking come out. And it's finally fucking coming out. And I hope that it's worth all of my wait and so much more. Because I've been waiting for so long. And it better be worth it, Jessica. It better be worth it, or else I'm flying to Australia. And you are paying for my therapy. But anyway, that's an exaggeration. Anyway, all that to say, I'm really, really excited to read this book. Like I said, it comes out the 15th of April, and I just love this series so much. So, there you have it. The next book on this list is called The Girl on the Walls. This story is a middle-grade paranormal contemporary following a young neurodivergent main character whom I believe is autistic, specifically, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, she's navigating the ghosts in her house, and I'm so excited to read this book because, first of all, I trust the author's reputation so much. I read Good Different by her 2 years ago, and it was one of my favorite books of 2023. And I just love reading books about autistic main characters because, like I mentioned before, I'm autistic, and I love reading about characters that I can really resonate with, especially with, like, a neurodivergent ghost story. And I think this book is also set in verse, the way that Good Different was too. So anyway, with that said, I'm so excited to read this book. I just know that it's going to be absolutely so amazing and so well done and just so good. I'm so excited to read this book. I hope that it's absolutely amazing and so awesome and lives up to my high expectations. So with that said, I'm really looking forward to it. The next to last book on this list is called And They Were Roommates. This book comes out the 27th of May, 2025, and it's a YA contemporary following a young transgender main character who's trying to keep a low profile at his new all-boys school, which makes me think that he's in stealth mode, and, like, everyone around him assumes that he's, like, a cisgender boy. You know what I mean? Anyway, this plan quickly goes awry because his roommate is not only the principal's charming son, but also his summer camp fling from prior transition. Does that make any sense? I don't think that his roommate knows who he is necessarily, but he does. Does that make any sense? Anyway, the concept of this book sounds absolutely so intriguing and so engaging, especially with that title, if you know what I mean. Second of all, this author previously wrote The Borrow a Boyfriend Club, which I read a few years ago, and it was absolutely so fantastic and so good, especially with the queer representation. So with that said, I'm so excited to read this book. I know that it's going to be absolutely so iconic, so good, so awesome. So anyway, with that said, I'm so excited to read this book. The last book on this list, and hopefully not the least, is called Den of Wiles. This book comes out the 1st of July, and it's a YA fantasy following a young thief who is determined to pull off a casino heist during a high-stakes tournament, and she's also caught between 2 brothers, so that's really interesting. I haven't read a book by this author in the past 3 years, but her past 2 books were both so good and so unique, so I'm very, very excited to read another book by her. And, like, this concept alone reminds me of something that I would have eaten up in high school and definitely still now. You know what I mean? I love heists in fantasy settings, not in contemporary settings, only in fantasy settings. Second of all, I love, like, a high-stakes tournament. I really appreciated it in the past Jessica's unique world building and magic and characters and romance. Like, I'm so excited to read it. Like, I'm a sucker for this type of story. I hope it won't be too, like, heteronormative or anything like that, though. But anyway, this book comes out the 1st of July, and I'm so excited to read it, so keep your eyes peeled. So, in conclusion, those are my most anticipated 2025 new releases. I hope that 2025 is a much better reading year than 2024, not just in terms of quantity, but in terms of quality, in terms of my mental health, in terms of everything else as well. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, and I hope this video is not actually as chaotic as I think that it was. So anyway, in conclusion, let me know your most anticipated 2025 new releases, and if any of these books are on your list as well. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up, comment down below the butterfly emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!